apologies if asking a personal question, but have you ever been accused of acting white or having white interests?
Yes. Yes. I've gone through this, as every I think every educated black person in this country probably has. Every black person who likes knowledge and sort of beats their own path in life, or it kind of doesn't fit into sort of traditional ideas of what blackness may mean or look like to people. I used to get that a lot when I was a kid. Yeah, I grew up in the DMV, very, very black area. And I remember when I was a kid, I would get this. I mean, every once in a while, I'd be having a good conversation with someone, chilling or whatever. And then it would just be like you talk white, or why do you talk like that? What do you? And it was just, and I remember feeling like it's almost like getting punched in the face. And it was a weird thing because it's like, I don't know if sometimes it felt like they were trying to insult me. Sometimes it felt like genuine curiosity. And sometimes it felt like it was them trying to sort of get me to fit into the mold. It's like, you're too outside. Why are you behaving this way? That makes me uncomfortable about myself. An educated person would never ask me that, and I'm not talking about. I'm talking about a person who has like a sort of traditional Maryland, DC, black accent. If they were educated, they wouldn't say that to me. So I think usually it was kind of uneducated people who would say that to me, and I'm trying not to be disparaging when I say that. I'm trying to be, but I also don't give a shit. Whatever. That was the common thing. That was the commonality between the people who would say these kinds of things to me. I remember once. I remember being on being at my bus stop, and I think I was like in 10th grade, and I was reading a Stephen King book, or like Wheel of Time or something. And I remember this guy who I was cool with, not the brightest, but he walked up to me, and he's like, he was trying to be funny, I think, but he was like, "Hey, what you doing, man? Well, reading that book, man. Stop reading." And I looked over at him, and the look I gave him must have been like, "You were a piece of shit. Like you are less than a bug on my foot, and like, how dare you disturb my reading to tell me?" And it's, I almost wanted to, in that moment, it's like, are you telling, like, you're telling me to not take in knowledge? Is that what you're saying? And you think it's funny? Like, it's not even funny. Like, even if there was like, to try and make that joke, you're making yourself look real stupid. And he did. And he was just trying to joke, but it was just like, man, knowledge says I'm in my 30s and still get called Oreo by some of my cousins and stuff. That it's small brain thinking. It's really small brain thinking, and having white interests. That's another thing. It's like what I was listening to, right? Or what I was consuming. Back then, when I was in high school, it wasn't cool to like anime, and here I was like hanging out in Japanese class, fucking printing out pictures of Goku and stuff. I went through a really strong Japanophile phase, and I am not ashamed to say it. I am out of that phase, in case you haven't noticed. But this is beautiful. I just love this sort of, this like spiky hairs. We're gonna kill that. That was just for like background. Yeah, but white interests it was funny to me because it's like, as a black person, I'd be like, well, why? Okay, reading is white. Okay, what else is white? Okay, skiing, that's white. Going to college, is that white? Going to school was white. Reading, like writing, is white. And like I'm saying this in a specific way to make a point. Writing is white, reading is white, pulling information in your mind is white, saving money is white, investing is white, learning about anything is white, learning other languages was white, trying to expand your mind was white. It's such a shame to me that these things were considered white, and I hope that's not still happening in schools. I hope kids have like expanded their brains to get past that. Jamal, we're talking about how we used to get called white. You know, Jamal can relate. Pike L says, fortunately, it hasn't happened to me, though my parents had it happen to them. I don't think it's an issue of education and more cultural closed-mindedness. But I think it's, I would argue that, I mean, like, you have cultural openness comes with education. Like, it's harder to discriminate against a group if you, like, are, like, you've experienced them, or, like, or a thing that you haven't experienced, you're more likely to want to experience. I think if you're educated and sort of interested in the world and curious and willing to ask questions and stuff. Knowledge says, I skated and listened to metal. What are you, white Mike Seatown? I almost said white Seatown. I would say we got to do better, but we in this chat, I think, are we're enlightened, we're smart, we're good. No, I know, like, this community, I mean, y'all happen to be very open, sort of beautiful, open people. Creative, soft, sensitive souls, by and large, which is what I like. I like to be around y'all for that. Middle school was trash, especially in hindsight. Very cringe. I know. And I just, sometimes I think back to it and I'm like, oh my God. Drawing pictures of girls and handing it over to them. Here you go, I drew you. I drew your picture. Which is not so different from what I do now, but you know. One thing I wanted to say about being called white or accused of liking white things was something magic happened after I graduated high school. You know what that was? I never heard that ever again in my life. I got away from those foolish people, and I never fucking heard that again. Elementary, middle school, and high school, I met some of the dumbest, closed-minded people I ever had to encounter. And to this day, I'm glad I did, because I think it gave me a certain perspective, or it allowed me to. It's like I could have gone to some super, private school or something. Actually, I couldn't have. I wouldn't have been able to afford it. My people wouldn't have been able to afford that at all. But I'm glad I got the opportunity to meet some of these people. And what's funny is, like, I'll never forget, there were some guys, like hood dudes from DC who went to my high school, and I'll never forget this one guy who just accepted me. He was so nice, and just like, even though I was different, I was kind of weird. He just was he couldn't have been nicer to me, and just we had just great conversations, and just like I felt this like acceptance from him, like, oh, I see you. And yeah, he wasn't the smartest dude, so I guess it's back to your point. I forgot I made that point. But yeah, maybe it isn't about just education or like how smart someone is. I'm trying not to just like throw those terms around, because I know some of that stuff is subjective or whatever. But yeah, shout out to that guy, wherever he is. I hope he's doing well, because he had a very good soul and was nice to me. I would love to hear your cringe high school or middle school culture stories, or anything about you being persecuted, because that'll make me feel better about sharing my life. If you've ever been accused of being white and having white activities, or like whatever it was you were into, your friends or family just accused you of, that's white stuff, we want to hear about it so we can laugh in unison. And like, I wasn't even trying to be a hotep or anything, but I had this feeling of just like, why can't we like books and go skiing and all that shit? Like, it's everything I do is black. I'm black no matter what I fucking do. It doesn't matter. I couldn't try not to. I couldn't not be this way. I can't pass. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I just went on a ski trip. That's my white voice. I just went on a fucking ski trip. It was quite lovely. This world's a hellscape right now. I don't know what to do. I thought I was privileged, and now I don't know too much about that. Everything's all fucked up. Everything's fucked up.
Yo. What I look like, a valet? Keep it, it's yours. Hmm?